Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the meeting of the Richmond City Council for Monday, April 14th, 2025 to order. I have a motion on the minutes. Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, carried. Any agenda additions or deletions?
None, Your Worship.
All right, so we start off the proceedings with a presentation, the Arts Services Year in Review 2024, a video presentation as I understand it. Marie?
Thank you. We're pleased to present a short video, Art Services Year in Review, the companion video for the report that's on the agenda this evening.
Richmond Arts Services is guided by Artworks, Richmond Arts Strategy, which envisions an art scene that animates our city every day, offers rich arts education and experiences, festivals and events, fosters social connections and wellness, builds arts and culture leadership, and provides creative spaces.
By connecting highlights from 2024 with the 5 strategic directions of the art strategy, this video will illustrate how art works in Richmond.
Programs at the Richmond Cultural Center and the new Cultural Center Annex provide affordable, high-quality arts education, free public activities such as the Children's Arts Festival, and community access to creative spaces.
In the newly expanded Media Lab this year, a record 69 members of the free Richmond Youth Media Program learned media art skills while building community connections. They also launched new programs like a regular open mic night.
Richmond offers a wide variety of classes and opportunities for community groups, including newcomers, to grow programs such as Chinese brush painting, K-pop, and classical Chinese dance.
Annually, the Cultural Center presents the Black History Month exhibition, Artful Pride Week programming, and hands-on activities for National Indigenous Peoples Day.
The Arts and Culture Grants Program invested more than $127,000 to 21 nonprofit arts organizations this year, including the Richmond Arts Coalition, which now boasts a storefront location in the new Cultural Center Annex.
Year-round, local artists access free professional development through knowledge-sharing workshops, guest speakers, and networking opportunities, such as the Richmond Art Gallery's Artist Salon.
The gallery's 2024 exhibitions attracted more than 18,000 visits to a wide range of exhibitions, including Foodways, featuring works by 11 artists, a display at the City Archives, and a popular series of hands-on summer workshops.
Richmond's festivals showcased local artists at the Steveston Salmon Festival, Cherry Blossom Festival, and Maritime Festival.
And Culture Days, with 80 artists and organizations presenting 93 free activities, was named the #1 community in BC, ranking 3rd nationally for mid-sized cities.
The year saw many new murals at schools, trail washrooms, and beyond through the Community Mural Program.
Seasons of Color by Richmond's Laura Kwok encircles the new Cultural Center Annex with a lively design informed through community engagement.
Another 17 Richmond artists received public art commissions for display along No. 3 Road, as well as utility boxes found throughout the city.
The Richmond Art Strategy guides decision-making to empower ideas, people, and resources around a shared vision led by the guiding principles of excellence,
Sustainability,
creativity,
accessibility,
inclusivity,
community building,
and celebration. The arts help us to achieve community goals in economic development, health, and well-being as we connect and celebrate our richly diverse and multifaceted community.
Okay, thank you. Well done. So may I have a motion to resolve in a committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda? So moved. Second. All those in favor, any opposed? That's carried. Are there any parties here this evening who wish to delegate to council on any of the agenda items? Anyone? May I have a motion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. Then we have the consent agenda, a fairly short one this meeting. We have the receipt of the committee minutes, the Art Services Year in Review 2024. We have the contract for the public shared e-scooter and e-bike program, the playing field user fees, the amendment to the consolidated fees bylaw. We have the 2025 Richmond Community Celebration Grants allocation. And finally, an application by the city for a temporary commercial use permit at 8620 and 60 Beckwith Road. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much, Your Worship. I have a question of transportation staff, if I can. The other night, I was at the, as you know, I'm a liaison to the Accessibility Committee, and they have lots of great ideas to continue to make the community accessible. They came, the topic of the e-scooters and e-bikes, I did mention in my report to them, and they were concerned about the silence and the fact that these bikes do not make any noise, and especially if coming behind, if you're blind or in a walker, wheelchair, whatever. And they're wondering, and some of them have already done the research, the fact that the City of Ottawa has a rider in its bylaws to make sure that they have some sort of device to let people know when you're coming down the street. So through your worship to staff, one, can we do that kind of thing, and can we investigate other communities to get on board with them?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, absolutely. The MOTI regulation for e-scooters does say that they do have to have a bell on them, and the bell is supposed to be rung when they approach people from behind. And that is part of Lime's education on their e-scooters, but we can certainly see if there's anything else we can do.
So there is a mechanism on the scooter now.
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, yes, it's requirement under MOTI.
Maybe in their safety brochure that they check off, that might be included in there to remind people.
Yeah.
Every little bit will help. Okay, thanks very much. The other question I had just quickly, Your Worship, on user fees for playing. Is this just the increase in 10% for fees? And will this be going to Sports Council for discussion and their user fee committee? Or was it discussed with the user fee committee of Sports Council?
Through your worship, I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the question.
The user fees, have they been increased monetarily? And will it be discussed with the user fee committee of Sports Council and or Sports Council?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, the Sports Council was not consulted on this. All fees are regulated through the consolidated fee bylaw, and they go through the 2% CPI increase that we typically do each year.
So it's automatic then? Okay. Thanks very much then. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Glanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting everything on the consent agenda. I just wanted to comment on the Celebration Grant Program. Just want to highlight, how many organizations apply for this. It's pages and pages of applicants, and it's not a huge amount of money, but it just shows that a little bit of help like this can make or break an event, and that people have the desire to have a community event, something to bring the community together and go through all the steps of the application is just great. And it's a tremendous amount of work from staff to narrow it all down and make their decisions. I just want to commend them on that. And then it just had some discussion about looking at how we're doing this next year and ensuring that it's clear to everybody what is included and what is applicable or not and eligible, and to ensure that the process is fair and transparent, and hopefully we can help more and more people get and receive the grant. So thanks.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, just to carry on from Councillor Glanders with respect to the grant process. And we've kind of put staff in a very difficult position to decide when they get several people that are moving forward. And I made a comment in committee, sometimes it's how the grant is written. So We know we have to relook at all of our grant programs to ensure that those bodies that need it to support what they're doing are actually getting it. Because when I look at the grant program, although it's only this one just over $51,000, I look at why some areas got it and some areas did not. And although they're there for the same reason out in our community, so it's certainly that we know people are going to be disappointed, but it's something that we need to look at, we need to address, and we need to make sure it's as fair, transparent, and equitable as possible going forward.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda. I'll just speak to the two items that were just addressed. I'll go to the community celebration grants first. Just a couple comments there. One is at committee we learned that the Green Ambassadors, which is the volunteer group that's available to come out to our large events, but they're also requestable to come out to some smaller events, such as those receiving funds through the celebration grant. And then they can assist with reducing contamination of recycle bins and do more waste diversion. The second point there, to touch on Councillor Heath's point there, some didn't receive grant funding, and I asked at committee that organizations such as the community associations that are community centers, the Hamilton one didn't get funding because they received funding through our other grant mechanisms, the Parks Rec and Community Event grant program. And then I'd also just like to touch on the e-scooter, e-bike program. There was a lot of discussion as well at committee there on the helmet issue or the lack thereof wearing helmet issue. And also brought up the fact that two of the three companies that gave bids here are American-based, California-based, and there was one that is BCAA, that's BC-based, used by Nanaimo, Whistler, SFU, campus, and others, but they had a lower score for a number of reasons. But I also learned that where they're located actually didn't factor into the score. So it's other factors that they were offering in their bid. And last point on that is I recently learned about Mississauga, Ontario, and they were actually thinking of scrapping all of their e-scooter, e-bike program, and they use Lime Canada and Bird Canada. And I think what I read into the issues they're having aren't really applicable here. They're seeing that the stuff is just dumped all over the place and people aren't returning them to the proper locations. And that staff haven't really addressed that as being a major issue here. So I think it's great that we can keep this contract going. We have a flat city. It seems like a no-brainer to get people out there mobile and using some of our good pathways. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair, just two quick comments on two items. One is, first one is number 7 of the Arts Year in Review. That was a great video presentation, and no question on this one because it was covered in the video, but just to point out that the 5 strategies that are there, I think are very current still. So going forward for the next 5 years, I think there could be an expectation that that might be tweaked, but I don't think you'll see a total revamping of the strategies because they're pretty solid and accomplishing what we want to do. And sometimes we ask a question about how we are doing in comparison to other cities, and I think the report covers that off as well, and the video did too, in particular with Culture Days being ranked number 1 and number 3. So that's very commendable, and I think the city and staff and all the people that participated are doing a great job on that front. The last thing I want to comment on is the e-scooter program as well. I do have a couple questions for staff. And I mean, it's a very successful program. There's been over 170,000 trips in that program. It generates a little bit of revenue. The geo-parking issue, which I think Councillor Wolf just touched on a little bit, I think has been quite successful. But I would like you to comment on a concern that we hear, and we've heard that tonight too, just the issue of complaints, injuries, from the public, injuries to people riding or maybe people that are involved in collisions. And the second question is about equity and affordability and what we do to make sure that it is accessible to people from different means. And I believe there are some challenges when it comes to the injury, accident reporting, and statistical analysis on that. So I understand you might not have all those answers yet, but if you could comment, because you hear a lot about that from people in the public.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs. Yeah, no, absolutely. We actually don't hear about that many accidents at all. Like the accident rate is similar to cyclists in general. We've been trying to work with the province to find better ways to report that. Like clearly they don't all get reported through ICBC unless it's an accident with a car. And so, maybe coded at the hospital and things. So we're still working that through. So, what we can say though is certainly with the shared e-scooters that we have a really good statistics with that. And 99.9% of their rides end successfully. So they don't, so the accident rate is quite low, at least on the shared e-scooters for sure. With respect to the affordability piece, Lime does offer a discounted rate to people that have a lower income, and it's done through some of our programs that accept people at a lower rate at our facilities. They use that as proof of those folks having lower incomes and offer them a lower rate.
Yeah, that's actually excellent news, and we did hear about that at committee, but I thought it was important that you reiterate that as well. So with that, Your Worship, I'll be supporting everything on the consent agenda. Thank you.
You, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. Yeah, on the consent agenda, the e-scooter, e-bike program done through Lime is a great program, and they're going to be able to expand it considerably in the next 3 years because of this awarding this contract. One of the things that we get asked all the time is they're just going too fast, but these Lime scooters and bikes are actually regulated, and everything is like where it got picked up, where it got dropped off, and the speed is regulated. The problem we have is with private e-scooter and e-bike owners who are not obeying the speed limits, and we definitely need to get the word out to them because, as was pointed out, it's really scary when one of these units comes racing up behind you. Number 9 is the playing field user fees, and they range between $14 and $65 an hour, and all that money goes into a special sports reserve. So we're keeping it as reasonable as we can for all the little baseball players out there. Number 10 on the agenda is the Richmond Community Celebration Grants allocation. Well, we had a long discussion, and I ended up making a motion in committee that we increase the amount of money. So basically, we're giving out about $51,000, but we have a need for $101,000. So what ended up happening was last year in 2024, if you were approved, you got 83% of your request. This year, you're getting 66.7% of your request. And it's just disappointing because most of these grants are between $680 and $1,241. And that brings the neighborhood together, people together, and that's exactly the kind of unity that we need right now in Richmond, because we have some divisive issues that have come up due to the federal election. And I think anything that brings people together and finding common ground is a positive thing. So I'm hoping that my motion will lead to much more funding in 2026. Number 11 is the City of Richmond is got some property on Beckwith Road, and it's going to be allowed to be used for parking. But one day that property will be developed, so don't depend on it forever if that's where you park. And that's it for me. Thank you, Mayor Brody.
Okay, with that, we'll call the question on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. There are 3 items that were taken off the consent agenda. So for number 12, we'll turn it over to the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services Committee Chair, Chak-Ao. Councillor Rao.
Yes, Your Worship, on item 12, arrival of these SV Titania Mural proposed relocation options. As we remember, in the regular meeting on December 9, 2024, we approved the removal of the arrival of the Titania mural from its current location because of these deteriorated conditions. In the same meeting, we also moved a motion that asking staff to explore options and cost of replicating the mural elsewhere and report back. And this is what staff did. And they make a study, and then they provide 2 options. Option one is...
you make the motion.
Yes, and we have this discussion at the Parks and Recreation Committee, and the recommendation comes from the committee was three parts. Number one, that option one, as described in the staff report, dated March 3rd, 2025, from the Director's Arts, Culture, and Heritage Service be approved. And second, that the funding of the proposed replication of the mural be taken out of council contingency funds to be replaced by in the fall by funds from public arts reserve. And third, that staff examine increasing the mural budget threefold for the 2026 season. So I move.
Second.
Did you wish to make more comments?
No.
Okay. Councillor Day.
Yeah, I won't be supporting the motion as written. I think we should be going with option 2, so I don't know if I can make a motion to amend it. But the reason is that if you look at the pictures on page CNCL 160, we have a washroom wall that is option number 1, and the mural can only be 5 feet by 14 feet, which is far smaller than it is now on the side of the Steveston Hotel. If we go with option 2, which is the Fisherman's Storage Building, it will be 10 feet by 21 feet, so much more, it'll be far closer to the original one that was on the side of the Steveston Hotel, and that will be located at 12040 6th Avenue in Steveston. The other reason I don't like the location that is being proposed is because it's really crowded. There's a lot of other artwork in the area, and this mural deserves to be really appreciated for the history and the quality of the mural. And having it crowded beside the Fisherman's Walk and beside the Fisherman's pictures, to me, takes away from it. If we move it to the Fisherman's Storage Building on 6th Avenue, it becomes a destination. And it's really, really easy to view from the street. And it's an incredible location, and I think we're not doing it justice by sticking it on the back of a washroom building. And money-wise, we're only talking $20,000 for option 1 or $30,000 for option 2. So I think it will be money well spent, and we'll better appreciate the glory of that picture and the history of it. So I'm not sure if I can just amend the motion to go with option 2.
Given that there are different finances to it and that it's a different location, it's really contrary to option 1. So what we can do is we can separate these out, and we'll vote on one by itself, number 1 by itself.
Okay.
And if it is defeated, then you could move option 2.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you. I also would not support option 1. In committee, a couple of us did vote for option 2, but it didn't pass. And then when option 1 was moved, just for ease of consensus, I did vote in favor of it at the time. But just looking at it again, I hope that council will look at the other option, just simply it being a fisherman's storage building versus a washroom. So just the building itself, for the type of painting that it is by this famous marine artist. I just think the building is calling for it. I think just what Councillor Day said, that it will be a destination. I think that when people walk, especially in the summer, they're doing loops all around, and I think it might get lost in this location on the side of the washroom. I just don't think that a painting of this caliber, I think it needs a blank slate of its own. So it's really calling to me on the other building. And I just want to point out that staff did tell us during the meeting that either building was acceptable to the artist, that they were both equally, I think it said equally good, and that the Steveston Harbour Authority was good with both as well. So I think that option 1 edged out option 2 as far as being recommended, just because it's a little more in the center of all the action, so they thought it might get some more visibility. It would certainly get a little more visibility than on 6th Avenue, but I think that not having everything all in one place and having the full experience of the entire area of Steveston would have this little gem on that road. I think that would be spectacular, plus it being its original size. So I appreciate that we're going to separate out the options. I would hope that we can move a different option for item 1 of the motion, and I would be in support of items 2 and 3 of the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you. I was opposed at Parks and Rec Cultural Services Committee meeting, both for option 2 and then for option 1. And I remain that way because I feel the place where this should go is not any relocation, but back onto the same surface of the Steveston Hotel. Staff said it would be a similar equivalent cost to what the larger Fisherman Storage Building would take. That's a real destination location where you get a lot of traffic, a lot of good visibility. You don't get a lot of blackberry growing there, but you do on 6th Avenue where they don't maintain it. So I and also the surfaces of these buildings, I don't think is as kind of flat and brick style as the Steveston Hotel is. And so I oppose part 1, but I'd be fine with whatever the funding, which I think is going to go through the public art funding through development sources. And I'm also supportive of number 3, which is the increasing the mural budget for the next season. But it's the potential relocation options that I oppose. Thanks.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair. Well, it's a beautiful piece of art. I think everybody agrees we want to see it replicated in another spot. We did have discussion about the hotel in the same spot, and I'll comment on that in a second. For me, the reason I support option number 1 is it is, in my mind, a higher profile location, even though it is on a washroom wall. It's very close to where it is now at the south end of the Steveston Hotel. So I think that's a good opportunity to replicate it close to its original spot. And actually, the other reason is it is cheaper. It's $20,000 versus $30,000, and I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but I think that's something for us to bear in mind. And I just say that if we do go with another location and not option 1, that'll be great too. But having it on the hotel would be actually my first choice. I thought that wasn't really an option because of cost, but if we're going to creep up to $30,000 and that's the same amount as what it would have cost to put on the hotel, that would be interesting to revisit that. But anyway, I'll be supporting option 1 and I'll see how it goes. Thanks.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm going to support option 1. I think staff have done due diligence on it. And following along, I believe the traffic on number 1 road is much greater than that along the walkway to Gary Point. And I would think the building that's on the way to Gary Point is owned by Ken Fiscal, and I wondered whether they would want to be putting something of their own. On number 1 road, I'd like to see some interpretation there as well. Many people didn't even know that the mural was in the hotel. Unless you were up there at the Gulf of Georgia Cannery, you wouldn't have even seen it or walked by. So it is a valuable piece of art from John Horton. The other thing too is we've already budgeted the $20,000 to go up to 30. That means it provides a half a fee for the next $20,000. We've got $10,000 we could spend on something else. And when we look at comparative, it's only going to be 5 feet by 6 feet bigger. That's not very much. It's the width of your desk. And so it's not going to, I'm not sure what portion and what proportion is going to get bigger than what's already there. So I'll support number 1, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I have a question to staff, if I may. So, I think bigger is better, obviously, but I'm wondering, in the washroom location, what is the aspect of the building? I think it's north facing, the aspect of the building, is that correct?
It would be through Your Worship to Councillor Liu. I'm just trying to orient myself. Steveston Hotel South, so it would be east, I believe.
It's east facing?
Yes.
Okay, and then the other one would be west facing, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so, because it seems to me like somehow the morning sun is, and so east and north are kind of your better aspects for paintings, because the Stevenson Hotel, one of the problems was this, it was so sun affected that it was, that's why it didn't last as long, right? So the cost of redoing it or to repair it was such that that's why we're having to start over again. And so we have to end up starting over again sooner if it's on a south or west aspect. Is that correct?
Through your worship to Councilor Liu, yes, typically southern and western facing walls typically get more exposure to sun.
Okay, and so the mural will last not as long, it'll break down quicker, but it's more ideal on a north or east aspect, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, through your worship to Councilor Liu, yes, there may be other factors if there's no graffiti or other, but in terms of sun exposure, north and east are more favorable.
Okay, thank you. So,
Why don't you stay there just in case there's any more questions? Councillor Au.
Yes, Your Worship. Well, actually, in the committee meeting, I was in favor of option 2 for reasons that were mentioned, but also I think that we should not just concentrate everything in the same area, and to spread it more to the other areas. We can divert people to the other locations, and I think the mural itself can draw people, so we don't have to worry about people not taking the walk and go there. So actually, I would support option 2.
Councillor Heed.
Yes, I was leaning towards option 2 until Councillor Wolf and Councillor Hobbs brought up a point. So my question to you, Ms. Balana, is if we were going to keep it on the Stevenson Hotel and redo it, what would the cost be?
Through your worship to Councillor Heed, it would be $30,000.
The same as what it would be if we moved it to the storage building?
For option 2, yes.
I'd be certainly in support. If the proprietor of the Stevenson Hotel, and I believe in some correspondence I read on this, he is not opposed to us having it there as long as he doesn't have to pay for it. So regardless, and the second question I have with your expertise, which is phenomenal, the paints that they use right now for some of the murals, is it textured in a way that it lasts a lot longer than previously?
Through your worship to Councillor Heed, it really depends on the type of wall, the condition of the wall. But typically, the paints that are used are acrylic-based, but really depends on the anti-graffiti protective coating that's applied after the mural is completed. And that really is what helps the mural last longer.
Thank you very much. So, I don't know what option or amendment is going to be moved here or whether something else is brought forward, but I'd be looking to my colleagues to comment on possibly keeping it at its current location, the Stevenson Hotel, if the cost is the same as what it'd be to move it to the storage shed. Thank you.
Well, we've taken it down from the Stevenson Hotel, haven't we?
Yes, Your Worship. It's currently, it's been taken down because of its condition, and the plan is to repaint the wall this week.
All right, so we can consider that done. The other thing is I'm looking at the picture of option 2, the Fisherman's Storage Building. So you say that the face that they're talking about painting would be facing west. So it's actually on 6th. Now, what is to the south of that building? Is that where the parking lot is?
Your Worship, I'm not familiar. I don't have actually, there's a map at the back.
That's a storage shed.
I believe it is, yes.
But what's beside it? Like, as we look at that, to the left, to the north?
I believe it is. It's land. It's belonging to. It does belong to the Stevenson Harbor Authority, but I'm not completely sure what the building's use is.
All right. So that's not on Moncton or Chatham, is it? Yeah,
No,
6th Avenue.
It's 6th Avenue.
So it's off what? Chatham or off?
Option 2 is
Yep.
Chatham and 6th.
Okay, so it's off. So if you're driving west on Chatham, you're not going to see that west-facing wall, are you? It's only when you drive east
On 6th, yes.
on Chatham.
Only if you're driving to, yes, if you're driving, towards, if you're driving east, you would see it, not if you're going the other way, you will not see it.
Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I favor, sorry?
You're not going to see it from the road.
That's my point. You're not going to see this from the road. You'll only see it if you're either walking along 6th or you are on Chatham traveling east. And then you see it over there on your right. So I'm supporting option 1. I want the highest visibility for this that we can get. I don't want to leave it at the Stevenson Hotel without significant contribution by the owner of the Stevenson Hotel. We are enhancing his business, and I think the time has come not to do that. And I'm not going to support option 2 because you're not going to see it. For the most part, you will not see that other than if you are traveling one way, one particular way. Otherwise, it's not going to be visible. Now, Councillor Day, you've already spoken.
Question about the side of the Stevenson Hotel. Like, if it's deteriorated, was there not a plan to paint this on metal panels and then install the metal panels? Or was it going to go straight on whichever building we choose?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, if we're considering the hotel, it can be painted both directly on the wall or on another aluminum substrate because that wall is flatter.
Yep.
Both option 1 and 2 do not allow for
Right.
painting right on the wall, so that's why they need substrate.
So the budget includes, whether it's 1 or 2, aluminum substrate, a sign blank, that it would be painted on and then mounted because of the siding, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we have options. I mean, even if,
Thank you. You've asked your question, and you've already spoken. So I'm going to call the question on the motion. We will separate it out. So I will call the question on option number 1, which is number 1. All those in favor? Those opposed? So that is defeated with councillors, everyone on this side plus Councillor Heat. Someone want to move something in the alternative? Okay, Councillor Rao has moved option 2. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? So it's defeated with Councillors Galanders, Wolf, the mayor, and everybody on this side opposed. All right? Any other motions? Councillor Wolf.
I'd move that we repaint it on the side of the Steveston Hotel where it's been.
Is it seconded? I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? Those opposed? That is, you're opposed?
no, I'm okay with it, but I need
No,
clarification.
no, you're either for it or against it.
I'm for it, but
Okay. Who's against it? So that is carried with Councillor Au, the mayor, Councillor McNulty, Councillor Liu opposed.
But given, just a point that I think is important, they were going to put it on aluminum anyhow.
No. We've finished with that. It's going, this council has said it's going back on that hotel. It is going back on that hotel. Funding has been identified. Councillor Au, we have finished with the discussion.
Yeah, but is this not contrary to the decision we made before in December? This is totally contradictory. So are we rescinding a motion, a decision, a previous decision?
The motion, as I recall, the resolution in December was to take it down from its existing place, which it's being done, and then refer it to the mural program as to where it might go. And we could have decided at that point to say it's going on back on the hotel. We said, no, we'll look to the mural program. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what we're doing now, is looking at the mural program. So I don't think we have to, it's consistent. Okay? So on number 2, which is the funding source and talking about increasing the budget, all those in favor? Any opposed? So that is carried. Then we get to General Purposes Committee, the Hugh Boyd Fieldhouse, the referral response. The committee has recommended that the existing Hugh Boyd Fieldhouse be demolished as outlined in the report, provided the demolition occur in the second quarter of 2028, and I would so move.
Second.
Okay, so as people will know, we are building the, what is it, the West Richmond Pavilion? I think that's what we're calling it, in the middle of the Hugh Boyd Park. And there is an old field house dating, I believe, from the 60s. Did it 70s? Okay. Okay, 60s or 70s. That is past the end of its effective life. It can be used for a little while longer, but it's basically finished. And so that would be demolished once, under this resolution, once we have the new project. Now, for those who would say, well, why would we demolish an existing building? First of all, we have the cost of that. We have the various problems with restoring it. It would be a costly item. But secondly, it goes to the very foundation of what we're saying. If we're saying that we don't have enough storage space and we need the old field house for storage space, then I say that we need to go back to the drawing board for the pavilion and design more storage space if that is the requisite. So, and I don't think that it's necessary. We could just go on building storage space forever. So I will be supporting this, and I think it's useful to note that the demolition will occur after the scheduled completion of the pavilion. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Just following up on that, I did take the issue to Sports Council at the last meeting, and soccer was in full attendance. And even though none of them were around in 1970 when we opened it, it was opened in 1970, Your Worship. It's 55 years old. And but they did appreciate the fact that there would be some usage for the next 3 years. Limited, mind you, but better than nothing. And they thank council for not demolishing it immediately, but leaving it until the second quarter of 2028. Thank you.
Yep, so I oppose this in General Purposes Committee meeting because it's yet another example of us just ripping down another building. It's going to cost us $120,000 to demolish it. And if all we do is use it for storage, we always need more storage. In fact, right now, that building is not enough. The different sports groups have also got space in the West Richmond Community Center, and they even have containers. So storage is always an issue. And, it's not a horrible looking building. Anybody who drives by, it's quite quaint looking. Now, it's only 970 square feet. So if at the end, when the new building is built, we decide we for sure don't need it, why don't we sell it for $1 to someone who can repurpose it? Once again, why do we have to rip everything down? Let's make use of it, and it'd be way better for the environment, be better for the community.
I would like to hear from staff on the demolition and what steps are being taken to repurpose the useful parts of that building.
To your worship, we have completed a building assessment. Any material left that does not have asbestos or lead, and the building is full of that, we will recycle as possible. We will always follow the council policy of 2308 for 80% diversion of waste. So our demo will be sustainable as well.
reference has been made to the $120,000 cost of demolition, but to keep going with it, as I understand, just as informal storage is going to be $350,000.
To your worship, if we were to make it storage properly and address all of the issues in the building, which is the roof, the asbestos, the lead, removing the walls, addressing the washrooms and the drainage, yes, it would cost us about $350,000.
And as I understand, because you have to replace the roof, that leads to all the other things having to be done. It has to come up to current code.
To your worship, as long as we're moving walls and replacing the roof, yes, it has to come up to current code. So because we have to get a building permit and that will dictate sprinklers and so on, yes.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just might as well stay. I have a question just to follow up on the questions that the mayor just asked. What we did discuss in committee, that was an option if we wanted to keep upgrading, use it as a building and upgrade it and people would be able to go in and out of it, then we'd have to replace the roof and it would cause these upgrades and a building permit. But to keep it the way we're going to keep it until the field house is built, we don't need to put any money into it because the roof is not leaking and we could just keep using it as is without any expense, correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Galanders, we are doing spot repairs as we speak. Should anything happen, I can't guarantee that the roof will not leak or any other issues will not happen, but at this time, only the operating cost of the building and the maintenance.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we had a good discussion about it. We did look at a lot of the options. It does make sense with the asbestos and lead that it will have to get torn down. And we know we made the motion to ensure that this happens after the field house is, the new field house is built, as Councillor McNulty said, and I'm sure everybody will appreciate that. I just can't get my head wrapped around why we need to decide today to demolish it in 3 years. I just don't want to make that decision today. I would prefer, and I heard that, we discussed that maybe the cost would go up if we waited or whatnot, but I'm not sure about that. So for myself, I would prefer to wait till the new building is built and occupied and used, and then we'll see if there still ends up being any use for it, make the decision then, because as Carol Day said, Councillor Day said, it is a cute building. You drive by, it feels a cuboid, it's familiar, it's not in the way, it's small, it's quite endearing to me personally, and I just don't see the need to make the decision today. I would rather just defer it till after 2028 and then make the decision down the road. It just doesn't make sense to me to do it now.
I'd like staff to come back and address the question of why we're making this decision today.
To your worship, we want to award at one time, and so when we complete a detailed design, this is a green space that we want to reclaim for the park because we are taking a lot of green space. The cost associated with it, it's a demo, so there's no supply. We have estimated how much that cost will be. So we would like a decision from council so we can complete our planning at this time.
So it'll be more cost effective to do it this way.
That is correct, Your Worship.
All right, thank you. Councillor Wolf, why don't you stay here in case there's any more questions?
Thank you. Yeah, at committee, I was opposed to this, and I remain opposed mainly to the language that it have demolition in its future. I don't think we need to make that decision today, like previous councillors have said. We have FIFA coming next year. There's going to be probably an upswing of activity around this field once the pavilion is done. There's going to be a lot more user groups wanting to get to that space, wanting storage. Rather than building additional storage at a later time, I would like us to remove the potential for this to be demolished at this moment. I understand staff's, the simplicity of having the contract of building the pavilion and demolishing this, but I don't think there's going to be that much efficiency in that, from my belief. What I'd like to see is the $120,000 that's set aside for demolition to be put in a set account. So in the future, if that is the Council of the Day's decision to demolish it, they have some seed money to do that. But also the potential at that point to do the bigger upgrade that's needed with a roof and siding and removal of material. And maybe even at that point, there'll be that enhancement need that was also given as a detailed option from staff. But at this point, I don't see it being a wise decision to demolish it. So I will hope that the majority of council opposes this. Thanks.
All right, thank you. We'll call the question then on the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed? So it's carried with Councillors Galanders, Day, and Wolf opposed. Moving to the last item, which comes out of General Purposes Committee, which is the official community plan targeted update. The recommendation is that the report dated official community plan targeted update, proposed update in the ESA map, be received for information, and that the draft environmentally sensitive maps, which are included in the reports entitled, and then it goes on to say it, be endorsed for public and stakeholder consultation as part of the official community plan targeted update, and I would so move.
Second.
We're taking a look at the environmentally sensitive areas. It's got to go out for consultation in conjunction with the revisions to the official community plan. There is some time sensitivity on this. You've got to start, so where we're starting is with the old maps with a certain limited number of changes on it, put it out for public consultation, and let's see what the public and the stakeholders have to say about it. So I will support this and want to get the communications going. Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair. First of all, thanks for the report. I do have a question, and I will be supporting it. But the question, and it came up at committee in a couple of different ways, and it's about the public awareness, public consultation, which obviously we're just going into, but also kind of the records ability of when land changes hands as well. And can you just comment on that? Because it seems a little complicated. Some people have challenges determining whether there is an ESA on the property. And so could you just talk about some of the difficulties there and perhaps some of the ideas that might come forward through consultation, how to address it for people?
Great. Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs. So when it comes to information, as probably most would be aware, that when you go through a property conveyance process, often your legal team or other representative would do some form of review of encumbrances or other measures specific to property that you're in the buying process going through. So in those types of circumstances, things such as your land use designation, your current zoning, an ESA overlay, all those things in staff's opinion should be something that gets raised at the time of property purchase. What I think we have unique in this circumstance is we have property that has ESAs on it that are in the urban containment boundary. Many of those are on property that would likely see redevelopment now or in the future. And then we have other conditions that it's in rural or agricultural land. And the conditions are much different, where what triggers a DP review and therefore an ESA review in an agricultural context is just the rebuilding of a house. And often in those occasions, you're dealing directly with a landowner, a property owner, a homeowner, as opposed to a developer who's looking at those types of lands within a urban containment context. So one of the recommendations or thoughts that we're mulling over is maybe we need a kind of two-pronged approach. Those that have professional expertise and deal with all things application-wise within urban containment boundary, like conditions, and maybe something independent of that applies a more collaborative hand-holding process where the municipality, through a statement of qualifications, has a series of QEPs that we can rely on, that we would then go through a collaborative or a triangulated process of working with the homeowner, staff, and the QEP working collectively together to find an easily understood outcome rather than having reports getting kicked around between an applicant and the city, which can be useful for a very complex project, but not so much when it comes to something more simple. So that's just one recommendation or one proposal or thought that we're looking at. So again, looking at who our clients are, the different conditions they come at when they interface with the city, and how we can be more helpful in conditions where they're inexperienced as opposed to experienced.
Well, thanks, and that sounds really good. And especially for the inexperienced or kind of average person. And it reminds me of some other issues we have with right-of-ways where people just, don't understand even though it is there in the documentation. So I appreciate the fact that you're alive to that, and we're going to be looking at that and listening to people and taking in information for consideration on how to, improve it for everybody. So thank you.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you. I oppose this at General Purposes Committee. No surprise there. And so I will remain opposed to it as it's written. I was hoping at the time to add a third part to this, which would include increasing the budget and doing a more extensive job. I was shot down on that discussion completely. So I will ask clerks if they could put up the image that I requested. It's from our existing OCP. And that image there before you, if you wanted to compare it with something in our package here, page 177 might be a good one to take out of your binder and hold it up against the screen here because, sorry, not 177, 176, sorry. That's the one that's proposed ESA map for 2025, which is almost 14 years later from this image, where back when we approved this the previous OCP, we were supposed to be upgrading this map every 5 years. So we're almost 3 cycles later and it hasn't been upgraded until perhaps now. And this, I think, is at least a better fit than what is being recommended here in this option, the proposed ESA map. And I'll just highlight a couple things on this map that are the one that's on the screen now that are not on the one in front of us. Some real obvious cases here. So just look at the northwest corner of Richmond, the Terra Nova. Right? So Terra Nova on the screen map shows all of Terra Nova. But on our proposed map, it's just a small portion of it. Yet much of that other area is rural fields, wildlife viewing sites, mature trees, nonetheless. Look at the bottom left, the Garry Point Park. It's a park. It's a unique habitat, unique features. On our proposed map, it's not included other than the waterway. Another one I can highlight is the Garden City lands. So unfortunately at the time here it was a special study area. On what's proposed is only having the eastern half as the bog conservation area, but the mound, the trees, the Milwaukee forest that was just planted there, there's so many other elements that should be ESA. Another one would be Swiss Swash Island. So that's up on our screen here. It's under the orange. It's Nature Conservancy of Canada. Yes, I get it's another jurisdiction, but there's other jurisdictions that are included in our proposed map. So why not that one? Because it's blank and white on our proposed screen. Another one would be by the IKEA Distribution Center, which is not IKEA where people go shopping. It's IKEA Distribution Center, which is out east, just a little bit north of Blundell. But one of the most amazing places, and you can go there, just go to their parking lot and look over the mound, and it's incredible. Not included actually on either of these maps. And another one, Pollock Park. I'm not saying all of the parks and all the school fields need to be included. Like on our screen here, we see the very light green for all those kind of neighborhood parks and schools. I'm not saying everyone has features of ESA, environmental sensitive area, but Pollock Park does, and there are definitely other ones. Pitch and Putt Richmond Golf could also be another one included there. Tree Island, which is surrounded by the river and has amazing wildlife, raptors and stuff using those trees. It's not included. Tree Island is as far east as Richmond goes. And Kirkland Island, down on the south part of the map, you can see on the screen it's all purple, but on our map there's areas not included. Not many people have been to these islands down there. I have, and I would say for one, the proximity to the wildlife and natural areas, and also their distance away from disturbed sites would make them candidates. I spoke with someone the other day who knows LiDAR very well, and they have so many complaints about it, and this is one of the complaints I have. We're about to send this to the public, and I do not think this is to the best of our ability. We have not done personal checks. We have not enhanced the budget to actually get our consultants who are hired to do this, which is also unfortunate. We should have our own staff doing this. That's would have allowed us to follow through with our strategies, our commitment at checking this every 5 years and upgrading it. Instead, we do it whenever we have a contract to do it. There's so many parts of our previous OCP in 2012 that are not met when it comes to the ecological network approach. I can go through any of the objectives. I won't go through all of them with you, but there's some key ones, such as achieve long-term protection of environmentally sensitive areas throughout the implementation of this map. And some of the ways to do it is recreation of natural habitats. We have done next to nothing in that regard. Yes, the Garden City lands is protected, but we really haven't done the bog conservation work there yet. Another one is Objective 1, protect, enhance, and expand diverse, connected, functional ecological network. The map in front of us is the ecological network, EN for short. That's supposed to include hubs, smaller sites, interconnected corridors. Yet what we're proposing to put forward to the public excludes those. So we're not likely going to hear from the public and then go back and add things. If anything, the public is going to want us to get rid of stuff on here. It's an extra step. It's an extra thing that's written on title. Although it really seems to be not hard to just get any tree that you want removed by saying it's dying. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm not surprised if nobody goes along with me because this is the standard around here. Thanks.
Isn't the whole idea of this to get something that is more than what we had before in terms of an ESA map, send it out to the public and let's get their input?
To your worship, that's correct.
So I don't see the fact that we don't have the exact chapter and verse of ESAs on a map as definitive or destructive to what we're doing. Councillor Day.
Yeah, so obviously quite a difference between those two maps. This is a first draft that's page 176. When it goes out to the public, what is the process to have it amended? If someone, such as Councillor Wolf, has pointed out some shortcomings.
Through your worship to Councillor Day, part of the consultation would be seeking feedback on any shortcomings or other comments or feedback that folks have, taking those, reviewing those with our environmental consultant, and if there's, from that review process, recommendations for amendments, that would be something that would be brought up the next time we were talking about this subject matter in the future. So sort of probably post June, July, August would be our consultation time. Probably come back in September with some identification of amendments.
All right. Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Wolf, for pointing out all those very sensitive and important areas throughout our whole region here. I just want to clarify, because when I was looking at the map that Councillor Wolf had on the screen and it showed all the green at Terra Nova, for example, when I read the legend on that map, that was just highlighting that it was a managed park area. It wasn't an ESA area, so that hasn't been removed. It's just that the this map here doesn't show the park areas.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Galanders, I believe what Councillor Wolf was alluding to is that Terra Nova, for example, should, in Councillor Wolf's opinion, be included as part of the ESA. It's something that we can definitely take back to our Parks Department to discuss and work with our consultants on. So we will certainly take the Terra Nova lands, Garden City lands, and Gary Point Park under advisement as part of this consultation.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so the motion's on the floor. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to the public announcements. We have some appointments to the Major Construction Project Oversight Committee, which goes for a term of 2 years. The appointments will be Jeff Illich, Neil Cummings, Sean Smith, Thor Fairburn, and Tim Liu. More generally, we have the Richmond Heritage Awards. Nominations open today for the annual Richmond Heritage Awards. These awards recognize Richmond residents and organizations that have made a significant impact in preserving or sharing the community's heritage. So if you want details of that, go to richmond.ca/heritage awards, and you've got until May 18th to make your application. Then today is Vaisakhi, the South Asian Spring Harvest Festival. This important religious and cultural day is celebrated with prayers, parades, and community gatherings, and we wish everybody a happy Vaisakhi. Then we have the World Leisure Day, April 16th. That's on Wednesday, is World Leisure Day, and Richmond is holding a number of events and programs to encourage residents to make the most of their leisure time. Richmond is designated a World Leisure Community of Excellence in 2017, thanks to our rich arts community, green spaces, sporting opportunities, and cultural heritage. If you visit Richmond's website, if you want to hear more about that. And then we have Earth Week from April 22nd to the 29th. And the city is offering over 30 free and low-cost family activities to promote sustainable practices and explore local nature. Events are being held throughout the city in partnership with Kwantlen University, Sharing Farm, Urban Bounty, and the Richmond Garden Club, among others. So if you want details of that, go to richmond.ca/beautification. And finally, the upcoming will be Easter closures. A reminder, the City Hall will be closed this Friday, April 18th, and reopen on Tuesday, April 22nd for the Easter break. Online services will be available 24/7, and a complete list of city and association facility hours can be found on the website. Madam Clerk, Development Permit Panel.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is 2 recommendations for council that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on March 26, 2025, and the Chair's report for the Development Permit Panel meetings held on August 23, 2023 be received for information, and that the recommendations of the panel to authorize the issuance of the development permit for the properties at 20455 Dyke Road, 7500 Number 9 Road, and a portion of PID 031553231 be endorsed and the permit so issued.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Wolf. Oops, sorry. Councillor Wolf.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to comment here. I was opposed to this development, the Farrell Estates one. That's in question, and part of the thing I wanted to bring up is they're going to be removing 100 trees that are in the riparian area on the river side of this property. And then what are they replacing it with? Well, you can now see in their development permit plan here, one of these pages that's unmarked, but you can unfold it, and they're going to put a whole row behind these proposed building 2, phase 2, a whole little strip in the 5-meter landscape buffer between the property line and the back of the buildings. And also there just happen to be underneath transmission lines. So those trees, those conifer trees are going to get topped, and then we'll get that standard excuse that, oh, the tree's been topped, it can get removed, it's dying. So again, just another kind of not surprise type of result here.
Yeah, I've been opposed to this project from the very beginning. This boatyard is of critical importance to the marine industry and to pleasure boaters. And when we're rezoning properties, we're always trying to go for the best and possible use. This location, with the humongous boat lift that they have, is a primary location for all kinds of repairs for boats up and down the coast of British Columbia. And what I don't like is that we're pretending we're just doing phase 2, but if you look at page 5 of the report, it says creating some intricacies in working with the constraints of an existing boat storage to the south. It's not boat storage. As it states on page 6, the continued operation of the boat yard prevents the opportunity of providing direct connection at this time. And if we go further down the report, it's got a picture on page well, they don't number the pages, but it's the one, it just shows the continued warehouses But the one that's really concerning and the one I'd love to draw everybody's attention to is this one. It says clearly on attachment 1 that future phases 3 through 5 will eliminate the boatyard altogether and put warehouses there. Now, what do we need more? A bunch more warehouses that can go anywhere, or a very effective boatyard that services boats of every kind. I've gone door to door, talked to the different businesses, and they're appalled that they're going to lose this down the road. So I won't be supporting this, be issuing this permit, because I think it's the worst possible way to waste one of the most important boatyards in the west coast of British Columbia.
Thanks. So yeah, I put my hand down and then I put it back up. I wasn't on council when this proposal first came forward, but I remember being not happy with it, and for various reasons. I had a question of staff. If the zoning had stayed industrial use marina, not business park, what would the proponent have been allowed to do, and or was it always in the OCP's plan to change it to business park?
Through your worship to Councillor Galanders, the site was previously designated for industrial and marine uses, so it did allow for a wide range of uses, including light industrial use. When the proponent originally approached staff about the proposed rezoning of the subject site, the site was consolidated together with the CN parcel to the north and rezoned to allow for the light industrial use. The applicant has indicated that their intention isn't to develop phases 3 to 5 until much later on in the process. They've also indicated that they continue to work with their current occupants of the boatyard, some of whom have indicated an interest in relocating to some of the industrial space.
Okay, so just follow up. And so the building to this phase that's going in now, that building, how is that going to affect any existing marine uses?
The proposed building 2 is located outside of the area that's currently actively used for the boat's operation facilities. And again, they are working with tenants to coordinate as construction proceeds.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say that I don't think that in a rezoning, we're necessarily looking for the absolute highest and best use. Otherwise, you would have to, every low-rise building, when they get rezoned, you'd have to have 14 stories. I think that our job, as far as I'm concerned, our job is to determine whether a land use is appropriate or not whether it's the absolute highest. And just because someone has a boatyard, I don't think that the neighbors are entitled to assume that that's going to go on in perpetuity. Things change, and that's one. So I will support this. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried with Councillors Galander, Day, and Wolf opposed. May I have a motion to resolve in the committee of the whole to hear delegations on non-agenda items? Moved and seconded. All those in favor, opposed, carried. We have one such delegation, Stephen Liu, representative for Lulu Island Agricultural Cooperative. Please come forward, sir. Have a seat. And sir, you've got 5 minutes to tell us about your situation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for allowing meeting today to listen to our...
Please bring in the mic.
Sorry.
Close. Just pull it towards you.
Okay. All right. I had a PowerPoint for this, but that's okay. I got my notes here. I can talk with it. Oh, there it is. Thank you.
We do have the PowerPoint in our package, by the way.
Oh, you do that? Okay, I see. Okay, I can just speak to it, actually. Okay, so as all the council are well aware of, Richmond has a very large agricultural land base. I think just AR zone land is around 5,000 hectares. If you look at AG land outside of ALR, it's another maybe 500 hectares on top of it. And in recent years, Richmond farming activity has largely stagnated, where our population has grown by about 30% in the last 30 years. There are many reasons for this. The largest of which is speculative land holding. So a lot of the owners bought these land with the idea that they'll later sell it for more profit, given the fact that urbanization will eventually change, they expect urbanization will change these zonings. And because of that, a lot of this land is kind of sitting fallow right now. So if you drive around, number 5 row, number 6 row, Stevenson, I see a lot of weeds growing on these land, and not a lot of it's really being used for farming from what we're seeing over here. On top of that, another scenario you've noticed is you see some of these mega mansions, which we tried to cap with the AG1 zoning to 4,400 square feet maximum build on the primary structure in there. All in all, even if the owners wanted to farm the land, they may not have the expertise for it. So we're seeing an opportunity here to try to bring everybody together. And our idea is essentially this, is Lulu Island Agricultural Co-op is an idea from various professionals, the community, some of the community members here, to bring together those with land, which is largely fallow, and try to connect them with those who can farm this land, who may not have the land, and also bring together almost like a wheel, hub, and spook model. We'll connect them with the infrastructure needed in order to pick and pack their produce and try to ship it off to the local grocers in Richmond here and the wholesalers. So our initiative is based upon the values of trying to promote shorter distance travel from produce to the market itself, along with targeted farming help for the various stakeholders in the co-op. The main idea of this is really to promote small and to medium-sized businesses in Richmond to use some of this fallow land that is currently growing weeds and hopefully increase the amount of locally produced products on the shelves you see in Richmond. That's at least the higher goal over here. And potentially the benefits to the landowner is, as councilors know here, if a land is properly farmed, and it's says to be a farm, then they get lower property taxes. And that's a main draw for some of these landowners, because a lot of the land is paying high property taxes, just sitting there doing nothing right now. What we're asking from the city of Richmond are four things here. One is acknowledgement of this initiative, and two, City of Richmond certificate recognition for the participants in this in the co-op. We will need, as part of our proposed infrastructure, a refrigeration facilities on certain AG land, and we need that to be expedited. In the future, the last one is the biggest one, but it's a future development, because some of these AG land they will need potentially expanded road infrastructure to support larger trucks and whatnot there, and those are what we came up with. Thank you. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. We have something here called the Food Hub, which we're working on something along the lines of the concept that you're talking about. And so my suggestion is you speak to staff. You could even start the ball rolling tonight if you haven't already done that. And speak to them about the opportunities that may exist out there.
Okay.
Food Hub, because I think it's commensurate with what you're talking about. Now, I've got a couple people. You've got questions? Councillor Glanders.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this forward. It's great to see the passion about getting people farming in Richmond. We have this great land. So just exactly what Mayor Brody mentioned is that the Food Hub that we got funding from the provincial government to create in Richmond could be centralized processing facilities, centralized refrigeration facilities. But this is because we're not going to just want to put refrigeration facilities all over farmland, be putting the cart before the horse, but did you know that we have I believe it's a Let's Talk survey right now about the food hub. So, and even if that's not still ongoing, yes, please talk to staff because you can help identify where the gaps are, what our strengths are, and what we need in Richmond to make something like this happen.
Amazing, yes.
And so then we could build the food hub according to what we need.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just encouraging you to be part of the process. My question was as if you had heard about that and that if you know about the survey.
To the mayor, to Councillor, I have not actually, but I will take a look at this and speak to the
So
staff.
speak to staff about that.
Absolutely.
And also, have you presented to the the Food Security and Agriculture Advisory Committee in Richmond? And maybe staff could coordinate you giving them a presentation as well.
I have not, but I will look into that. Thank you. Thank you.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair, thanks for being here. I do have a question. And the problem that you've outlined, I think, is serious, and it definitely exists. So two quick questions. And if you said it, I'm sorry, I don't remember it, but what is the minimum size of a parcel of land that you think would be workable for your purposes?
To the mayor, to Councillor Hobbs, my gut, just through some investigations here, we think we probably need parcel probably around 5 acres.
Okay.
Minimum, probably. I mean, I know that AG1, I mean, you could have a land as small as half an acre. For example, AG1, I think those parcels probably we're not going to be able to use for this. Essentially the whole idea came about because I'm involved in the real estate business and I see a lot of farmland, just literally growing weeds. I mean, these are parcels at 20 acres and things like that. We obviously would target the biggest parcels, and a lot of it's just lack of knowledge from the owners themselves, not understanding how this process works.
And one more question to the chair, if I can. And you're right about that, and the owners are hard to get a hold of as well. And just a question about the Premier's report. It was when Premier Horgan was Premier. Have you consulted or read the Premier's, I think it was a task force report on agriculture and farming, and I think it was from about 2018. It's about an 80-page report. It's got a lot of the initiatives, some of which you've mentioned. Have you referred to that, or have you checked that out yet? Because it would be very helpful.
I knew of the report. I have not gone through it thoroughly, so I will do that.
Yeah, so that's the question, but yeah, check that one out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Councillor Day.
Thank you so much. My question is whether you've been in contact with some of these landowners, because as you may know, a lot of them think, oh yeah, I'm going to build condos one day. They come from another part of the world where, they don't understand that in British Columbia, nothing is more sacred than agricultural land.
Through the mayor to Councillor Day, full disclosure, my background is real estate, so I absolutely have spoken to a lot of these folks, and a lot of them bring up these fantasies about these future development potential because they see cheap land, and this is I'm trying to be very transparent on what these owners see, and our main pitch to a lot of them is, sure, you can wait forever and do this, no problem, right? Well, while you're waiting, your property tax is quite high. Your land's sitting, growing weeds, and a lot of them don't really understand what are the rules around. Like, for example, some have asked us, could we park heavy vehicles? And obviously, in most AG zone, you cannot do that, for example. Like, you cannot turn this into a parking lot for it. So a lot of this is education. But yes, I spoke to a lot of them, and that this is the number one thing they mentioned to us is future redevelopment potential. Number two thing is, could we park a bunch of stuff on this thing? And just all kinds of illegal uses. If you look at the bylaw, and we would advise them, you cannot do this. But what you can do is, hey, and farm it, right? That's something you can actually do. And I believe that the province, AR, and also the city would be very supportive of farming activities on these land and BC assessment. If we do get a successful farm operation going, you could go to BC assessment and get assessed as a farmland, and that will financially incentivize you to reduce your taxes. I mean, no one will give up the land for free, of course, but I figure that's better than just letting us grow weeds right now. Right?
Yeah.
Councillor Rao.
I just had one other question. Okay. Have you been in touch with the young agrarians? They're basically doing exactly that. It's a group of young farmers, a lot of them just coming out of college, that try very hard to find people that are willing to lease some land.
So we spoke, sorry, to the mayor, to the councilor, we mostly spoken to folks who have actually farmed some of the products we're looking for. So we've spoken to some wholesalers, we've spoken to some local grocers, and we find out that, for example, I'll give you an example, Chinese vegetables is shipped from Mexico, I believe, which seems kind of weird, into the marketplace in Richmond. So we've spoken to folks who have expertise in those targeted produce. However, this is not set in stone. We're very open to working with anybody who wishes to farm here. We just want to connect them with fallow land and try to hook everybody together. Like I was saying, it was a wheel and spook model here, right? So, yeah.
Councillor Rao.
Yes. Now, I find your concept very interesting, but I want to ask the question, have you ever found a model like this, like farming cooperatives being successful? Do you have examples elsewhere that inspire you, or you can draw experience from?
Through the mayor to councilor, we mostly we haven't found a lot of like agricultural co-ops, for example, elsewhere. That's the truth of it. What we found is that when there's opportunities for resource underutilization and with support of local communities, for example, and through Councillor Day's point, we do find there actually is a lot of interest in farming in these land, and that's where the idea came up with. I mean, the whole idea isn't simply to make money, because it's a co-op after all, right? It's not a corporation over here. It was simply we wish to see more local products on Richmond shelf, and that's the goal itself, right? But yeah, to your point, I have not done like a thorough investigation, because this is not run like a business that I'm running, kind of. Right?
Councillor Liu.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
And I think a co-op is still a business, it's just how it's owned is a little bit different, that's all.
Of course.
You say that you're looking for support with transportation infrastructure, with road expansions to support transportation needs of large trucks and containers. So are you talking about city roads need to be expanded, or you're talking about roads, farm roads?
Through the mayor to councilor, we're potentially city roads. I mean, if we get to that point, it means that this initiative would have worked to our goals at that point. That's why we put it last. But yes, we'll be looking to like if something you can do. For example, like number 6 road, for example, is an example, Cedar Way. So some of the owners we're talking to, we can't release without owner giving us permission. Fortunately, we can't release the addresses, but some of them are some of these, as you know, a lot of the AG land is on number 6, number 5, Cedar Way, for example, over here. So we're just looking at it and we're thinking, potentially in the future, this is something we might ask from you guys. But for this point, for what we're starting with right now, I think the first 3 is really probably more important.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're not looking for you to jump ahead of and expand.
I'm just trying to understand, like,
Absolutely.
You say you have 4 things you propose requests from City of Richmond, one of them is transportation,
Yes.
so I just wanted to understand a little bit more of what you're looking for. I understand that some properties in Richmond are not really accessible, and so like farm roads do need to get built. I also understand if you look at one of the things we were just talking about previous to this, the environmentally sensitive areas, there's a number of farms that are actually getting dinged with the environmentally sensitive things. So trying to run a road in there and trying to actually farm it, you're gonna have to work with staff on figuring that one out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, just quickly, and wrap up. Thank you very much for the presentation. I found it very, very interesting. And I guess from what I see, you are already a co-op. And I'd like to get more information on the co-op and who's in the co-op and what the goals are of the co-op and what you need, as Councillor Liu started lead, what you need specifically from the city. It seems like you've come tonight for recognition. My concern would be what action are you going and what have you accomplished up to now? And I guess working with staff, I'm not sure who your worship with staff he should be in touch with, but I think it'd be important. But I think publicly, we would like to know who's all there. And what we're going, when I look at your chart on page 238, quite impressive with all you're trying to bring together. And each of those would need to be found out, like what groups are you doing, what product, what's their ultimate goal. So it's almost like the seafood industry we have in Richmond, that unfortunately it's all sent to Beijing, and it's not done in Richmond. So we buy projects here, we send it. Anyhow, so I'd like to get that information. So who would the staff member be, Your Worship?
I don't know, staff will be speaking to this gentleman
And
right
I'd like to get that information and a memo from staff on that. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. We will, it will take me a lot more than 5 minutes to give all that. Absolutely, we will give you thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. We have a motion to rise from report.
Move adjourned.
Just a minute. On rising and reporting, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Someone move adjournment. Someone move adjournment. And second, all those in favor, post carry. We're now adjourned.